Okay. So are we on again? Right. So back in session. We are on, so we are going to the discretionary committees now. We've got page 182. Okay, we'll start with the catchment nominations. Clarkson, Downer, Dunbar, Graff, Bone, and Smith. Or Smith. Nebon?
Madam Chair, I'd like to initially represent we're doing harbour management planning post and that stuff for quite some. I'd like to
Are you happy to step down, Councillor?
And as you well know,
Nominees?
Ebon is saying is experience retained. Given to consider. Certainly, thank you. And if necessary, I'll second Councillor Nebon if he makes a motion accordingly.
Councillor Clarkson, are you, given that you raised the issue as Councillor Smith has pointed out, are you willing to step down so that Councillor Mahuta can take that place? Sorry, Councillor Nebon, can I get you to turn? There we go.
Back on. Yep. Okay. Yeah, look, unfortunately, this is my specific area of interest. I specifically asked to be put on this committee. I raised the issue in relation to two aspects of the membership. One was the lack of women, but also the Maori worldview, which is critical for integrated catchment management. So we're in a bit of a, I would say, a bit of an impasse here, but we really do need to think about this issue very carefully because that lineup, yeah, is, I believe, currently a bit problematic.
Noting, of course, that I am also on this committee, and last time I checked, I was a female.
Yes, I understand that, but I did mention two criteria, not just the one woman.
Right.
I'm on. I was just wondering, I didn't realise you were on here, Chair, because it didn't say, but I was just going to ask, is there a possibility?
It's in the tours that the chair of council is on.
So I was just wondering if they could instead increase the committee instead of taking anybody off or changing them over. Just a question.
Because it's a good makeup.
We've already accepted the tours, though.
I imagine that we could make a change of saying "and" with the addition of an additional member to the terms of reference. Would that be an issue? I really like the makeup of this committee because it's got Taupo, Waipa well represented, Waihopiako well represented, Hamilton and Waikato district. But I can really see the value of having, say, Tipper on there and potentially Kata as an alternate, if anybody wanted that.
Sorry, just going to any of the other, just because I've checked with those who've raised the issue. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mahuta?
Kia ora, this is what, before we started this, these are the committees that I named, was Integrated Catchment, EPC and Climate Action, as those that would, in my estimation, require a Māori worldview or partnership with iwi. So I have raised the matter. In terms of integrated catchment, if you go beyond land ownership, the only new investment in catchment is the Waikato River Authority in this region, which is co-governed. So I think having me there would help that conversation. Not only that, but in terms of even the old ICMC structure, you didn't get any Māori representation through the drainage boards, through the catchment committees, very infrequent, and then through to the ICM. So again, we would find out too late in the decision that it might have affected or impacted negatively on iwi Māori, whānau hapu o iwi. And I wouldn't want that to happen to my colleagues. So again, I indicated this. I don't think adding one more person's going to hurt it. I don't want it to be the habit for the rest of the discretionary at all, Madam Chair. But I understand why all the constituent councillors of that area want to be there. And just note, I'm the constituent councillor for the whole of the Waikato from Hamilton to Waiuku in the Māori ward. So we have an expressed interest as well. Again, we're not seeking 2 seats, just one. And that would be my press for it. But if there's no appetite on council, then someone will have to figure out how to include us. Kia ora.
Of course, I'm just thinking about the earlier motion we passed around the, in regards to the tours and the establishment or the wording. It was about the integrated catchment, the drainage, the flood infrastructure, that we were going to be engaging with iwi as to how we can get appropriate representation in that space as well. Just covering up, because the point you were making is that there was, yeah.
But if you don't need it.
Sorry, Ben, I did see your light on earlier. Are
Simply
you?
to say, I'm obviously keen to be on that because I need to understand all the drainage systems. So, yeah.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Look, Madam Chair, I'll move a motion of an amendment if I can, insofar as I think it's really important this council, because of its position and its responsibilities and its JMAs, that the Maori worldview needs to be at the decision-making table, not in a subordinate supportive role, because that is just counter to what government and this council has, I believe, tried to achieve previously. So I'll move an amendment that Councillor Tipa Mahuta is added to the committee and that the terms of reference for the committee are varied accordingly.
Just wanting to.
I think the reputational, if I can speak to it, Madam Chair, the reputational risk to council by not including the Maori worldview in this committee, yeah, I just don't want to go there. Thanks.
I'm just thinking of Councillor Downard's previous representation earlier today, that how he in particular identifies. So just noting that, Councillor Downard, in this conversation.
And I'm not ignoring that, Madam Chair, in this. I respect that completely. So, you know, and Maori make up 24% of my constituency. And if you look at the Waikato constituency, you've got one Maori representative against the rest of the region completely. So 50% of the Maori come from my constituency.
I just want to, I do see that it has been moved and seconded. I am keen to have a conversation with you, Molly, though just want to check my understanding of our process here. All right, so.
Can I raise a question first?
Yeah, question
Madam
two.
Chair, sorry, I've just been waiting for a little while. I've just realised the one glaring omission, as well as one of our Maori constituents, is probably a representative from the Thames Coromandel. So I would like to put my name forward if there is a possibility within the tours to add numbers. Thank you.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear on something, so I'm just going to adjourn the meeting for just, what? Sorry. I just want to make sure that my thinking is clear on something, all right? Okay, so just gonna,
With the support of the seconder to include Councillor Mayor. Yeah, you know, this is a huge part of council's business. And
I'm well aware, yeah.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
it's fair, because there's a lot of water that comes down on the Coromandel.
Okay, I'm just gonna pause for a second. Let me just, we're just gonna adjourn for a second. I just want to make.
No, I'm the same.
Move a certain person and we get
Five.
Well, aren't you taking
That's right. Oh, look, you've got a better one than me, look.
Oh, this one, another job.
Oh, okay, right.
But I put the council's son, so I don't need to carry it.
Right.
Wise. Someone thinks like that, they get nothing. Right. You probably like.
Okay. Gosh, every time I break, everybody leaves the room. Hang on a second. I just want to make sure we've got, I just wanted to make sure I was clear on our democracy advice here.
change it.
Mhm. All right, so I just wanted to make sure, so we'll reconvene the meeting. I just wanted to make sure in my discussion with Molly, seeing as we had passed the tours in a previous motion, wanted to make sure that we understood what our process was to change something within the same meeting. So Molly, did you want to make a comment on that?
Yes, we did have a discussion specifically about ICM and the number of members in the previous item under terms of reference and made a particular decision. following questions and debate. You can revisit a previous decision about membership numbers for integrated catchment management, but there will be a higher threshold, which is 75% within the same meeting. That's how it works. So
Okay.
yes, you can.
Just
you can
wanted
do
to make
this,
sure
provided
everybody
we've got
was
75%.
clear on that. All right, and so this was, we have an amendment that Councillor Mahuta and Councillor Marr are added to the Integrated Catchment Committee, and that the tours are varied to allow for 2 additional members. That has been moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Kneebone. I'm happy to put that motion because we have talked about numbers
I'd
and
just like
things.
to go to division on that.
Sure. All right, are you ready?
Okay, the amendment that is on the floor is that Councillor Mahuta and Councillor Marr are added to the Integrated Catchment Management Committee and that the tour be varied to allow for 2 additional members. I'll call your names. Can you please indicate whether you vote for or against the motion? And I've popped all the microphones on, so you don't need to. Councillor Story.
Support.
Councillor Clarkson. Support. Councillor Cookson.
Support.
Councillor Downard.
Support.
Councillor Dunbar-Smith.
Support.
Councillor Graff.
Support.
Councillor Hodge.
Support.
Councillor Hughes.
Support.
Councillor Kneebone.
Support.
Councillor Marr. Support. Councillor Mahuta.
Support.
Councillor Nicol.
Support.
Councillor Smith. Support. Councillor Strange.
Support.
We have 14 members in support. It is unanimous.
All right,
So-
and now what, I know, I got it, I got it now. And now that becomes this substantive, I was like substantial, substantiated, no, substantive motion. So all those in favor,
Can we ask Councillor Strange if we can go to a,
can we go on voices with that, Councillor Strange?
Sure thing.
All those in favor,
Aye.
opposed, carried.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have the Finance and Services Committee. We've got Councillor Hughes, Councillor Kneebone, and Councillor Strange as the nominees on this committee.
I'm happy to accept, thank you.
I'm happy to accept. Also note that Chair of RTC is on there as well.
Yes. All right, are we happy with this? Can we go on? We happy to do an all in favor there?
Can I, just a question,
Sure.
Madam Chair. Marley, I know this is all based on previous quorums. Was there ever a problem with quorum at the, in this committee, and did it have an alternate?
Not that I'm aware of. We still have Janine in the room, and Janine attended every meeting of Finance
I just
and
want to know,
Services.
so that, to enable the quorum, do they need an alternate or not?
The chair and the deputy chair work officials.
Oh, are they?
We
You
do
guys
have
make
an
it up.
alternate, and Bruce is an alternate on this one.
No, that's all right, then. That's good. Maybe question answered.
All right.
Thank you.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Unanimous, unanimous. Unanimous. Sorry, just Councillor Strange is happy to take that on voice.
Yes, if it's unanimous, division not needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Where are we next? Risk and assurance. Okay, so with risk and assurance, we have 2 independents, those being Graham Naylor and Paul Connell, and nominations for Councillor Nicol and Councillor Marr for appointed members of risk and assurance.
Happy to accept.
Can I ask a question, please, Chair? Is the chair of the Finance and Services Committee part of this group?
Yes,
Oh,
automatically.
yeah, yeah, it'd be nice to sort of know that,
Oh,
otherwise.
it's in
yeah,
the tours.
I
It's
know.
in the,
but
in the
if
tour.
the names up here would be great. And you are, and the chair.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Copy.
Happy to accept.
Making
Right.
sure the other two are there.
All
Yep.
those in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
Opposed?
Good.
Carried. Okay, next we've got strategy and policy. We've got Councillor Downard, Councillor Dunbar-Smith, Councillor Graff, Councillor Hodge, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Marr, Councillor Mahuta, Councillor Nicol, and Councillor Smith as appointed member, or nominees as appointed members to strategy and policy. Are those
Yeah, I was just
nominees
going
happy
to
to accept?
mention that, I mean, obviously I was disappointed before that we didn't increase the size of this committee. One person in particular that I think adds a huge amount of value would be Stu Kneebone, from his understanding of the RMA and everything else in regards to our reforms that he's been really well across. So I would like to propose to ask whether anyone on this committee would be willing to make a space for him to be a part of this, or whether we would
Do you
be
want to make
open.
a space, Councillor Nicol?
Not at this time. I'm just keen to ask the room, and also I would ask otherwise whether, since we don't want to make it a committee of the whole, there would be any interest in having one additional person on this committee. If I've missed anyone else that has, you know, a huge interest in this, I'm sorry. Please do speak now. I'm just aware that that was quite explicitly expressed as an interest from Councillor Kneebone. Yeah, I really rate his experience to be able to add to this.
But you don't want to step down.
Not at this time. I'm keen to hear from the room.
Is there anybody who wants to not accept their nomination?
I'm happy to, again, it doesn't require Katarina, and I'm happy to advocate through her, so I'm happy to withdraw.
All right, so
Paper
instead
or-
of, so if you're happy to do that, Councillor Mahuta, then we can amend this, or not amend, but, you know, change, reword this motion, include Councillor Kneebone.
Is
In that?
all
Councillor
good?
Kneebone, are you happy to accept that?
Yes, Madam Chair, I expressed very strongly to you my interest in this committee, and that was also expressed through Bruce, as I understand it, as Deputy Chair, so I was pretty somewhat surprised
Yes.
that.
Thank you.
That's a
Well,
yes.
we've got you on there.
Yes, yes.
Got you on there.
Enthusiastic, yes.
So,
Just one further thing. It's really great. Thank you, Tipper, for doing that. Because of the importance of this committee, as we spoke about before, and totally acknowledging the will of
we
the
have already
council.
debated the
Yes.
numbers.
I'm currently acknowledging that. I was just going to propose that should any of those people not be able to attend, that the remainder of the councillors that aren't listed be listed as alternates who then could attend if somebody was not able to.
But if we list everybody as alternates, then it's hard to know who is the one particular alternate at any one time.
I imagine we
So
could clarify
I think
that.
that, you know, any councillor is able to attend any subcommittee, or sorry, any committee. So we've got the nominees.
Could I just hear from anyone else in the room also of whether they have an issue with alternates or not? I'm just really curious. Someone have an opinion?
On this committee?
Yeah.
Because I'd alternate for you.
There are about 3 or 4 people who might not be members on the committee who though could step up to do their duty should someone else be sick or not available.
The other thing to consider is that Bruce is an alternate on this already.
Oh, yeah.
That's only to you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Only to you. So if another member cannot be there, he cannot be there. He can be there, but not vote.
We could potentially
Through
also,
the chair, if possible.
I was just going to say one more thing, Angela, then you jump in if
Yeah,
that's all right
sure.
with the chair. We could also obviously designate alternates to a specific person if that's easier for whoever's going to be chairing that committee. Does anyone have an opinion?
I'd, Ben here, or is Angela going to speak, or?
Oh, sorry, Angela.
Thank you. Yeah, I would support having alternates as well, as someone who's not listed there. Yeah, I think it's important to be inclusive. So yeah, I would support alternates.
It's not
Oh,
on this committee.
I just
Three
am, I'm
councillors.
conscious of, I'm reflecting back on when we had two alternates for future proof. It was sometimes difficult to know when one person, when one of the appointees was not able to attend, which of the alternates had voting precedence.
Yeah.
So we do
Clarity.
get into issues when it is a string of alternates as opposed to for particular positions. And given that if we were to do this, that is a change to the tours, right?
It's doable, provided you've got 75% of the council on board. I just used my calculator, that's 11.
So,
I just wanted to say here
Sure.
that it's already a large committee. I don't know that there's going to be a need for alternates. The alternates is only when you don't have enough people.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a committee that's well attended with at least 10 people.
For
all
example,
right, so
Yeah, but
just,
we-
I do want to move on this.
so for example, for Hamilton,
Consideration.
for Hamilton representation, for example, if Angela was my alternate, then that would work really well for me, right?
I'm waiting.
I think that, as has been expressed by some, that they are happy. I understand that not everybody is happy. We
No, that's
have
fine.
made
I just wanted to test it.
a consideration already to ensure that Councillor Kneebone who has registered his particular interest, is on there. I would like to go ahead and put this.
That's
All
fine.
right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. Okay. Submissions subcommittee. So we've got, so this is a subcommittee of strategy and policy.
Yeah. I will follow again, through you, Madam
sorry?
Chair, that I'm not on strategy and policies. That makes no sense to me being on submissions. I can do
Oh,
it, but again,
right.
if it would
Okay,
vote for
so-
the experience of one of the other members, if they followed the
Right.
submission subcommittee.
Yep. Does
I'd
somebody-
like to nominate Councillor Nicol.
Councillor
Yeah,
Nichol,
I'd
would
be
you like
very happy
on
to
the
be. I was
submission?
on last time and I enjoyed the position.
All right.
Second to him.
And
We've got a seconder already, and he is happy for that change to be reflected.
I am mindful just that this is a meeting called at very short notice a lot of the time,
Yes.
and with only 4 members. Three?
I'm off. Yeah.
No,
No, no,
Well,
because
I think
the-
strategy and
the
policy chair
Chair is still on it.
and the
This is
chair
where
of
we have to read them
council,
in conjunction with the tours.
these 2 people. So being quite small, I think this one is one where at least one further alternate to the ex officio would be useful. We spoke about it quite a bit last term, how this was a very small committee, and being called at last minute is, it's quite possible it could just be 2 people making a decision on a position of council.
Often was.
It wouldn't be hard to add 1 alternate.
Sorry, Councillor Smith.
A question. Can I have, during the workshops, I asked a question, but I'd just like to have it answered in council, is, excuse me, small number of people. The customary practice will be that all members of council get the proposal and feed back to the committee, and that practice will continue.
Yes.
It will. Thank
Yes.
you.
If no one wants to
Alright.
volunteer, we could always add alternates later when we realise that we've
Yeah,
had a very
that's the
small
thing
meeting.
is we can always change these. So if we find that, because that's what we did do with the future proof, is we found that we had issues with ensuring we had the members around the table and added accordingly. So I have, let's see, what am I doing? So we've got, Chris, you were okay with that change to include Councillor Nicol? So all those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, Waikato Plan. We've got a nominee in Councillor Nickel and a alternate in Councillor Clarkson. Are you both happy to accept?
Yes, thank
those?
you.
Yes, thank you. Yes, that would be great.
All right.
Yep, I'm all good with that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Mhm.
Carried. All right, next we've got EPC. We've got Councillor Clarkson, Cookson, Dunbar, Smith, Graff, Hodge. Also, I believe the chair is, the chair of council is on that as well. All right, everybody happy to accept those nominations?
Yes.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. All right, next we have climate action. We have Councillor Dunbar Smith, Graff, Nickel, and Smith. Now, Councillor Smith, I believe you said or had expressed that you were happy to have somebody else take your.
Not sure that I said that out loud, but I
Right.
obviously said it for somebody.
Was foreshadowed to me.
Now I know who not to trust. Okay, so the reality for me is, whilst I think climate change should be across all business of council and integrated into the culture of council, I am more passionate about a couple of the other committees that I have been appointed to, and thus would indicate that I would step down and ask that Councillor Kneebone take my place. But I would also like to bring up the Maori World view as well, again, because I think it is a critical part of this issue, and would seek to include Councillor Mahuta in the Climate Action Committee. So whether I do this
Councillor Mahuta in your stead?
No, Councillor Kneebone to replace me and Councillor Mahuta to be added to this committee. So I think I'd like to do this in two parts, Madam Chair, so it's not voted down or voted, and I just see that it needs to be discussed.
We have discussed the numbers.
I
on
appreciate
climate action
that, but
already today.
I appreciate that. And whilst I have the opportunity to ask my fellow councillors to consider the the message that's been sent here, I'm offering and asking that I be replaced with Councillor Kneebone, and I understand from him that he would be willing to do that. But I also would like to see Councillor Mahuta added as well. So could I put it in two parts and be voted on in two parts? And I'd seek it a seconder to my amendment, Madam Chair.
So, okay, so the first part
Is that
is
Councillor
that
Kneebone replace
Councillor
me?
Kneebone replace you.
Yes. Further
And then your
that,
second part
And
is
further
a
that.
change to the tours
yes, which we have already
To
got
add
precedent for today,
to add,
Councillor Mahuta.
so it's, but the change to the tours is to increase the number.
By one.
And then there would be a third bit, which is to, if that passes, to appoint Councillor Mahuta to that.
You want to do it that way? The last
Well,
motion we did it.
isn't that the order that you'd have to do that in? Because you,
Same as the ICM one.
We did it as, and further that, it be increased by one. If we increase it by one and that person be Councillor Mahuta. So I'm
Did it
happy to.
together for the ICM, yeah.
We did it as one. So I'm happy if you want to go split it out, but I think we should use the precedent that we did in ICM, Madam Chair.
we do still need 75% in order to change that.
That's why I'm looking at having it in two parts, please, because I don't want it to fail and me still be on the committee, because then I'd resign.
Sure.
And force, so let's not be silly about this. I'm asking that I be replaced with Stu.
Yep.
And that's a
Got it.
simple issue.
Yep,
The
yep,
next one may be open to debate. So that's why I want them separated, please.
yep, understand.
And I'm happy to
understand.
second it.
I'll let you go, no.
And I'm very mindful, before we talked about making it 8, this is talking about making it 6. Ultimately, it would be the smallest committee of council at 5. So I'd like us to consider this one. That's why I'm happy to second. And I really, really do appreciate that, because it's part of the terms of reference to receive information, scientific information and mātauranga Māori. And you will hear it out there all the time, how Māori are disproportionately affected and uniquely impacted by climate change. So I'm hoping that this council will continue with the work that has been happening to date to strengthen that relationship, because to be honest, it could be a bit stronger in that category, interacting with our iwi partners and Māori in the climate action work that we do.
All right. Okay, so we'll do the first one, which is that Councillor Kneebone replaces Councillor Smith as the nominee.
That'd be great.
As one of the nominees, yeah. Yeah.
Those in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah.
No, so then, is that, I was just thinking of the steps, Diana. At what point does that then, do I have to do that to the first bit or? do
Right,
we
I said,
move on
and
to the second
further,
one?
and further that. And so,
So we do this one next.
Part
Next
2
one,
of
yeah.
the amendment. Yeah.
Okay, so this is that the terms of reference for the Climate Action Committee are amended to allow for the addition for an additional member, but we have to vote on that first, eh?
Yeah.
no, you can
Before
vote.
we can do that TIPA is that
Well,
one.
and I see him, Madam Chair, if I
Yes,
can,
thank
we
you.
did it as one.
Okay,
Yeah, additional member and
right, sorry,
More efficient as one, but unless there are other people.
right. Okay, does anyone want to speak to this? Or we,
probably I do. And accepting the nomination, probably the 3 strands of work that I can think of that I'm involved in, West Coast, and it was mitigation activities to do with affected marae, namely Maketu at Kawhia and their seawall. So this is already work with the impacts of climate change. Some of the ngāwhā work around Rotorua and Taupo with those kaitiaki groups about the impact of climate change on geothermal resources. And I guess the broader national conversation have been involved in a lot of those workshops, as well as supporting rangatahi Māori who are leading out in this space and is personally sponsoring someone to COP27. So again, that's my hand in it. That's what I want to bring and just be a voice for our 2 constituencies in the climate change space. So kia ora.
all right, does anyone want to speak? Well, first of all, is there anybody else who wanted to speak for?
I think it's well
Anybody who
explained.
wants to speak against the motion? I guess the only point I would make is that we did debate at length the membership numbers on this particular committee.
Same with IC.
So the notion came up as well when we saw these membership lists today, that it came to mind when we were just talking about a number of, we were thinking more high level, I suppose. Now that we're getting into the detail, it occurred to me that this committee would really benefit from that Māori worldview being part of the terms of reference, as it is already and has been. So I think this would be really good, the work going forward. And totally, I understand, we talked about 8 before, we don't need 8 right now. That's very clear, decision made by council. But I believe 6 is not onerous. Quite common in our other committees.
Mm-hmm.
And look, Madam Chairman, as the mover, can I, before I do the right reply, but I don't want to cut anyone else out.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, because look, I don't want this to fail, because I think we need to have the Māori worldview on the table and in the committee. So in the spirit of what we did earlier, and I look at, understand some of my colleagues around the table may not be in favour of this, but the reality is this should proceed, because it's the right thing to do. But in the spirit of the love in the room, that if one of the opposing 7, and I'm addressing the elephant in the room here again, wishes to put their name forward so that they can maintain the balance of power in the committee structure, I am happy for that to happen. And if one of them wants to put their name forward, I'm happy to change the resolution to accommodate that. But I do not believe that this council should exclude Councillor Mahuta or Councillor Hodge, if that was the case, from this committee. Thank you.
So considering that, is there anyone else around the table who would like to put their name forward for this committee?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The reason why I didn't put my name towards this committee is during the workshops, it was quite balanced right at the beginning whether we were going to have this committee in the first place.
You're right.
From the beginning. And the talk then was that all of us as councillors in each of our committees will strive to do our best in bringing climate change into the forefront of our minds on any decisions that we're making. For my contingency, both Taupo and Rotorua, I hope to do that in the JMAs. So that's why I didn't put my name forward.
Would you consider putting your name forward now, given that we have decided to proceed with this committee? I take what your point was, but that you hadn't before because it was going to be across all of the committees.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's just that, you know, this has been huge, you know, the last month, let alone, you know, stuff that we've had to pass through council. That's, you know, as a first-time councillor in closed meetings, but also now that I know the structure of the committees and the committees I'm on, I don't want to underdo, as like Councillor Smith said, that he's opted out of a couple of committees because he's passionate about a couple of others. You know, I don't know, you know, to a certain extent, whether I'll extend myself too much to justify that. So, yeah, obviously, once I digest after today and talking to the directors and obviously the other committee members, I might well want to be or have time to be on that, you know, because I too am passionate about it. I'm having 5 children, so yeah, at this stage.
So are you
no.
happy to put your name forward, or are you saying no?
Well, I'm saying that, yeah, in the, you know, can I digest what committees I'm on now, because I haven't put my name forward to this. But yeah, I'm happy to put my name on it if you feel as though that I need to be on it.
Are you happy to put your name forward?
Yep.
All right. Okay, so then we're looking at a change to the tours to allow for 2 additional members, that being Councillor Mahuta and Councillor Downard. Just checking with you as the mover that you're happy with that
Can I
change?
check, have I got a seconder at this stage, Madam Chair?
I seconded it.
Yeah.
Rebecca.
Jennifer. Right, yes, I see that there. All right. Yeah. Are we good?
Just checking in with you, Madam Chair, so it's more possible now because there's 2 members that want to go on it.
I just,
Again, I just
Councillor
note
Smith,
that,
Councillor Smith had
I know he
suggested
submitted
that.
it, but it was impossible a second ago. And now it's possible. I just note that.
Well,
All right.
I covered that in what I said.
Thank you.
and,
Let's move.
It was
Okay,
indication
so-
it was impossible.
So we have
Through the
got,
chair, if you wouldn't mind. Got my hand up.
oh, sorry, I didn't see that, sorry.
Yeah, I was just sort of along the lines of what Tipper was saying. I'm a bit confused because earlier in the meeting we voted to increase the membership to 8, and now it's up to, is it 7 plus you, so that makes 8. I've already got the maths wrong, yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1, 7, mate.
7?
Awesome. It's 7.
Yeah, 7 to you.
Let's put the motion.
Right, thank you. We will,
Can I just exercise the right of reply because it was extended, and I think
Yes.
I offered, you know, and can I just highlight the issue that once again, the elephant in the room has come up, and it was impossible to look at extension, but in the openness and collegiality by suggesting that one from the other side could come to the table. Something has become possible, and I think that's the message that I would like to convey from this in my closing remarks as the mover. So I don't know how far we've come. We've
All
gone
right.
forward and gone backwards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will put the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Nice, so that passes, and that is now the substantive motion.
Give me a moment.
Points made. Yeah. Does that have to be re-put?
I'm just waiting for
Oh,
democracy to catch up.
thank you.
No pressure.
No,
No
no,
pressure.
haven't felt any yet.
I think the chief executive should look at a little bonus for the work done today by the staff.
Democracy.
So. Here we go.
All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Yeah.
Unanimously.
Good enough.
Thank you. All right. Now, the last thing was just for correctness, given that Councillor Clarkson has been appointed a full member of EPC and ICM. For correctness, the terms of reference will be updated to reflect that Councillor Clarkson is appointed as a member to a discretionary committee. He is, if he is, where he is, that he is not the alternate member for the council chairperson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried. All right. Are we actually on the health and safety report?
We're on the health and safety report.
Sorry?
Take it as read.
No, let's,
Either one, I
let's,
never
no, I'm
remember.
just,
I'm
I'm
losing
I'm
track.
thinking about our poor brand new health and safety officer. He's been waiting
Oh, I'd
all
love
day.
to meet him.
patiently.
Yes. At least say hello.
Is that what, are we next? Is that what we've got next?
Yes.
Okay,
That's on page.
185.
this is on 185.
Page 185, councillors.
All right. Yes.
Yes, so if I could just, while he comes up to the table, introduce Stuart Brown. Stuart's our new People and Capability Manager. So who were here last term, you recall you were used to seeing Nick Ollington report on any matters related to human resources, health and safety and so on. He left in August or so, and Stuart's on day 5, I think.
6, but close enough.
So he's still absolutely learning the organisation. Neville Williams, who you also might have seen. Stuart has reports through to Neville, but he is a member of the executive team, given the importance of we are our people. That's as good as we are as an organisation. So he sits in the executive table. So Neville is currently on leave. Our health and safety advisor, who would also normally be here to assist the discussion, is actually unwell at the moment, so she can't be here. So on day 5 or 6, it's Stuart gets the opportunity to not only meet you, but present the health and safety report.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. You'll pick from my accent that I'm not local. So I've been in the country for about 13 years and came over to New Zealand with a background in construction and HR. And I've had a number of roles locally here in the Waikato. Some of you guys will maybe know Hill Laboratories. I was general manager in there for 5 years, and I've done a couple of years consultancy before taking up this role. So that's just a little bit of background there. I'll take the report as read. There were just a couple of things I thought I would, being new, I looked at myself and thought, what are those? And I guess if you go through to the events reporting for October 22, you'll see there's a list. There's a couple of, in point 19, basically, there's events, injury and potential risks in those 3 boxes. the initial things that I looked at were threats of aggression and violence. And that stood out to me, and I wondered, what is that? What's been going on? So I've looked into that, and thankfully they're reasonably low level things. Unfortunately, some of our council workers have been out in branded vehicles, and people have just randomly abused them, not directly because of who they are, but just of their association with council. So that's what was going on there, and thankfully nothing more serious than that. That was really that. I guess I have been impressed with the Health and Safety Resource Council and the knowledge and expertise that are here. Unfortunately, in previous roles, I've walked in and haven't been that happy. And obviously, with CEO, board of directors being personally responsible for this stuff now and have the potential of prison sentences, it's really serious and important to get it right. So I've been really impressed by the team that are here. And I guess I'm looking forward to working with them and ensuring that we maintain that high level of health and safety here. And I guess another thing that I'll be keen to do personally and probably with the executive is just do regular monthly health and safety walkarounds. I'm a big believer of, you ask people what's been going on and what they've been doing and what they've been investigating, and often they'll say to you, yep, we've been doing that. I always like to say, well, can you show me? And go out there and actually see for myself. So I guess I'll be doing that in the coming time. But that's really just the points that I thought I would note. The only other thing that's not on there that's probably maybe in some of your minds is COVID. So it continues to be in the media, and we continue to have a watching brief on that. And we're continuing to ensure best practice around the business, around hand sanitizing and desks. And if people are unwell, stay at home and have a rat test kind of thing and let us know. So I think we've got about 3,500 rat tests, and we've been distributing those to the region. And I believe some of you guys will be going to field days next week. And we have a bit of a plan for that around COVID. So there'll be rat tests prior to people going on the stand so they can test, and then following first day, the next morning, they can test again to ensure that they're not there if they're contagious, obviously, or testing positive, and there will be masks available. And I think Wendy is going to provide those to whoever is going.
Sorry, can I just get you to move the mic a little? I don't know if it's the accent or what.
Yeah, well, the accent's a problem. I just get lots of smiles and nods, but hopefully you'll get most of that.
I did, yeah.
Yep. All good. You can hear me now? Good
All right.
stuff.
Are you happy to move on to questions?
Certainly.
Great. Councillor Mahuta?
Firstly, thank you for the report. Appreciate it. It's a hard act to follow, and that you're being a sub of the sub. So tēnā koe. Just two things I'd like to raise early in this term. One, that we really benefited from the on-site health and safety scheduled visits. So
Yes.
Last Triennium, so that you could go and look at the risks in situ, but we need the calendar early so that we can arrange ourselves as elected members to show up at floodgates and or other site visits.
Okay.
So if they could do a schedule of those earlier in the piece. And second, we had our PCBU training well into the term. I prefer that it's early next year. Otherwise, I'm not too sure if I'm more liable than the rest because I've done the training and I don't want to be. But I think we waited too long. It was about a year and a bit. And so for my new councillors, if we can get that done early in the piece, I think that's beneficial for our health and safety view. Thank you.
Okay.
Do you have a?
Nope, I think it's no. Oh, no, sorry, all our lights are on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I've got a question if that's all right.
Councillor Nicol?
Out of all of the events that you looked into, were there any with a particular flavour or story that you thought is just good for us to be aware of? Without detail, obviously, but.
So I guess that's going back to those, looking at the more serious things. That one that stood out that was reasonably unusual, I guess I've never seen it before, was that in Whitianga, the council put on a public workshop, and that was attended by members of the public. Unfortunately, somebody that was attending that thought that he should actually be paid to attend, and got a little bit annoyed and took some food as payment.
Interesting.
So I guess maybe that's more aligned with the rise in mental health issues that are out there in the community. I can't see any other reason for that apart from that. So that was just a really unusual thing. It wasn't very serious, but it stood out for me.
Thank you.
I guess it's just unpleasant when people get abused just for being associated as a council worker. I didn't say at the start, but when I moved to New Zealand 13 years ago, I, for my sins, worked at Hamilton City Council. So I know a little bit about what goes on council. And I spent a little bit of time out with the parking wardens when I started. And I got well used to being abused and spat at. So I can completely relate to the staff members that have been abused there. But yep.
Oh dear. No, thank you for that.
Okay.
It'd be nice to learn a little bit about you as well.
Yep,
Thank you.
I'm more than happy to catch up with you.
Hi, yep, thanks for your report. Excuse me. With regard to mental health, can you tell us if people that were mandated out of the jobs here at the council have been invited back to work to fill spaces after COVID?
Yeah, so I'm not aware that people were actually mandated out of their roles. And that obviously it's day 6, so I could be wrong and I can come back and check on that. But Chris may know a little bit more about that. But
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Graf. If your question was, did anybody lose the employment? Is that what you referred to when you said mandated out?
Yeah.
We didn't have any staff who were dismissed or anything because of COVID.
Okay.
We had staff who weren't able to enter the workplace, but we had provisions in place, and there've been once we reopened the workplace to those who didn't have vaccinations, they were able to return.
Thanks.
thank you.
If there are no other questions, then do I have a mover to accept the health and safety or receive the health and safety report? Councillor Hodge, do I have a second? Councillor Downard, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, we are now on item 8.4. Oh, thank you, Stuart. Appreciate it. We are on item 8.4. This is on page 90.
190 or?
190, sorry. Long day. 190. These are the nominations of candidate for the Regional Software Holdings Limited Board of Directors. Janine, I think, is going to join us at the table. I know that most of us know you, Janine, but we do have new counselors, and I remember what it was like 3 years ago, and people would sit in front and sometimes we forget people's names. So I'm just going to ask staff, just for the first few council meetings and things. I know you have your name plates over there. If you can pick up your nameplate when you come to the table, that would be just helpful, just so everybody, until everybody's got it all bedded in and we know each other. That would be helpful. Okay, so Chris, did you want to make a particular comment with regards to this item?
In the interest of time, I'll let Janine just explain maybe RSHL and why there's been a change and why there's a new the new shareholding and new nominations required. But obviously, in terms of the paper, the recommendation of Janine has come through myself to yourselves.
Thank you, Chris, and through you, Madam Chair. I guess council is or has been a shareholder in a company called Regional Software Holdings Limited. That has really been the company that has developed the regulatory software that we use in council and across, I think, 6 other councils in the country, specific to our regional council regulatory functions. What was decided last year and was endorsed by the previous council was the transition of RSHL from that IT service provider, that was the single service that they provided, through into a broader shared services delivery organisation, acknowledging the need for efficiency within the sector and the opportunities that are afforded by working together, but also acknowledging the wave of change that we will need to be dealing with and how, again, we can deal with that on a joined up collaborative basis rather than dealing with things as individual entities. So in response to that change in purpose, what the company is proposing is that the existing board of directors, of which we have an appointee, who is not myself, that board resigns and there is a nomination and election process for the appointment of a new board of directors. And so the appointment process that is set out is the one that has been set by RSHL that we are, that is proposed in terms of the recommendation before you.
All right. Any questions?
I'm happy to move the recommendations together.
Happy to second.
Got a mover in Councillor Kneebone, seconder in Councillor Nicol. All those in favor of the nomination of Director Becker? Good.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Carried.
All right, just another matter through you, Madam Chair, to Chris. I guess was the decision around voting for the nominees, whether you wanted to pick that up. Apologies, it isn't a recommendation that's included in the report. But just whether that delegation goes to you as CE.
So, Janine, you might like to give a bit more information that whilst we, this is recommending a nomination, I think all the councils who are part of Regional Software Holdings Limited then get to vote on who out of those will comprise the board. Is that what you're referring to, Janine? And just for efficiency of purpose, your recommendation is that that be delegated to myself instead of having to come back to council. Otherwise, you'll have to read the CVs of all the people that all the councils have nominated. Recommendation, is it?
Number 4.
That was the intent. So what is delegated to the Chief Executive at the moment through the report is putting forward Council's nomination. But then obviously there is the actual voting process. Without the delegation to the Chief Executive, that decision will need to come back to you, and that might be a matter of timing, but entirely in your hands.
Okay, so are we talking about an additional?
Would be an additional recommendation.
Is that item 4 up there?
No, item
No.
4 is that the chief executive is authorized to complete and submit nomination on behalf of council. We're talking about an additional or a new motion.
Yes,
That-
that's right, that the chief executive is authorised to
F5.
make council's selection in terms of board candidates.
And U5, okay.
That's a vote for the
Vote
new board.
for the new board.
Right. Since we've already carried and passed or carried the previous one, we'll just do this as a new one. Councillor Mahuta moving, Councillor Nichols seconding. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Janine. Appreciate it. All right, on to item 8.5. This is on page 200. This is the Waikato River Authority nomination to the minister. I'm gonna take this as read, and I am going to go ahead and put forward a nomination if he is willing to accept it for Councillor Kneebone to
Yes, thank you.
to continue in that role. We've got a seconder and Councillor Hodge. Oh, sorry. I've got a seconder and Councillor Hodge. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
Thank you very much, everyone. I
Sure.
appreciate it.
All right. Well, according to my run sheet, we're now due for lunch. So, yeah, that's good. Okay.
Not much in the paper.
We are now going
To public excluded.
to the public excluded. We've got a mover in Councillor Mahuta, a seconder in Councillor Hughes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. So we're gonna just pause for the recording.
Thank you to the member of public who sat through our meeting.